Hello, everyone. Welcome to Loud and Proud Orlando. We are live and happy 2026 to everybody. Definitely, we are excited to be once again live with you all. Definitely, it's going to be a packed show today. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you drop your thumbs up as well as drop your comments. We'll be reading you all. So again, hopefully you and your family had and your friends had a tremendous new year. We definitely hope that we continue providing the best content possible for you guys. And definitely as we brace and we start 2026, we also want to extend our love and gratitude to John that he's obviously abroad still with family. So hopefully if he's watching or listening, we wish you a happy new year, my friend. We can wait to have you back. And with that, we have a packed show today. We have a lot of topics to cover. We are going to be talking about the two Ojedas. So in this case, we'll discussing first Braian Ojeda from RSL Ghost Official, and it's a new player for Orlando City SC. Maxime Crépeau, I don't know if I pronounced it bad, Crepeau, next Orlando City keeper. Martín Ojeda, transfer rumors. There's some stuff brewing in Brazil about Palmeiras and Argentina eyeing our number 10, as well as Luis Muriel. The saga continues with his sale dragging on. Nico Rodriguez with a brand new fade for 2026. He is pretty much good to go to Atlético Nacional. Juan Rojas signs for Orlando City B of MLS Next Pro, which is definitely a younger version of Pedro Gallese, in my opinion. And then to end it all, Kyle Smith, the accountant, the soldier, going home to Cincinnati. So with that, with all that, how are you, my friend? David, how are you? How's everything? Happy New Year.
Good, man. Yeah. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to all of our LPO watchers and listeners and everybody else joining us. Really excited to get to the new year. The other exciting thing is preseason camp opens in what, about a week? So got to get excited. We're closer to some soccer. We're closer to Orlando City getting back on the field, and we still got some stuff to figure out. So let's hope we kind of figure it out here because we're looking a little thin at some spots. So
Yeah. And again, time is ticking, like you said, and we're hitting close. Hopefully, there's a lot of news coming up in the next few days regarding some, and that's what I've heard per sources. That's what I've heard. There's going to be some news coming up, but we're going to be discussing the first topic of the day today. Obviously, Braian Ojeda from RSL, January 2nd. Some of you probably still a little hangover. Orlando City officially announced the acquisition of 25-year-old Paraguayan midfielder Braian Ojeda from Real Salt Lake. 1.3 million in GAM, split evenly between 2026 and 2027, with an additional 475K in performance-based incentives. That's if he meets all the metrics. RSL also retains a sell-on percentage, which I don't know if it's being disclosed on my notes. I don't have it as disclosed. He signed a long-term deal through 2028-2029 season with a club option of 2030. And definitely, it seems based on what I've read, a lot of RSL fans, they're extremely upset of his departure. They're blaming their front office and not wanting to compete this season for them whatsoever. They're losing a really big piece of the puzzle, and they claim this is going to be a direct replacement for whoever number 8 has left the building, meaning Cesar Araujo. Now, he can play the 8, he can play the 6. I've seen him play in Paraguay. He's played tremendously. He played in Olympia, which was one of the best teams there, if not the top teams there. And his international experience kind of has gotten a little better with this new Paraguayan coach. the former Paraguayan coach kind of set him aside because he was going to the MLS. And again, some coaches look the MLS as a league that they don't want to really bring players from. There's some coaches like that over there. But this new coach, Alfaro, has made him part of his starting squad. He's been having good minutes. He's been playing with a lot of high energy, and is showing also based on what the RSL fans are mentioning, making it this big prize that Orlando just pretty much taken. What are your thoughts for starters, David, on this signing, Braian Ojeda?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with everybody. I wasn't sure what to think when we had first got the news. Obviously, no rumblings or anything like that. With these interleague moves, you normally don't hear a ton ahead of time. It's normally like a Bogart bomb or something like that that kind of
100%.
makes you aware of what that looks like. But once you do a little bit of digging and once you talk to some RSL fans and some other folks, you really start to see that Orlando City kind of found a gem in the middle of the country here. I mean, the last couple seasons, he's been one of their best midfielders. You were worried about, maybe some people were worried about, I was one of them, about what the fee was going to be, but I think it's a good piece of business to split up the game between 2 seasons. He does has some performance based incentives as well, but I think we're happy to pay that if he ends up hitting those, of course. And so once you really like break it down and look at him and things like that, RSL really used him as a 6. And that was kind of, you can kind of see that that's his jersey number as well. But he has these really nice flares of like being sort of a hybrid 8 at times as well, which was kind of nice. One of the things I started to do, I think like many fans did, is besides just the highlights, I actually went back and started looking at some of RSL's games. I wanted to see, what maybe I didn't see. Obviously, like most Orlando City fans, I didn't watch a ton of RSL last year. So I went back and looked at some of his games, and the ones that I loved the most, if anyone wants to be pointed in the right direction, take a look at his League Cup games. RSL didn't make it out of the group stage. A lot of MLS teams didn't. It was really cutthroat to make it, of course. But especially check out his game against San Luis, his game against Querétaro. Both of those games, I felt like really kind of display what this guy is all about. I have a small preference towards the Querétaro game. He had a banger in that game, number one. You've probably seen clips about it. It's made its rounds on social media. But the rest of his game that he had, hit the play that he had during that game was just really, really awesome stuff and really kind of displays his full sort of potential. What I'm really curious about, and I think a lot of fans might be as well, is what he provides this team right now. I think there's the possibility that he could step in and start right away, and I don't think people should be shocked by that. I saw a lot of people online saying, "Oh, he's a depth piece. We brought in kind of an expensive depth piece. There's going to be this, there's going to be that." I don't think he's that. I think he's a guy of this year when he gets on the field. Because the other thing, like you said, Luis, he's got something to prove, right? Paraguay, like he's looking to be the starter for Paraguay's team. He's looking to come in. He's looking to compete. Very similar to I won't say his name, who went to Sao Paulo, but very similar to the goalkeeper we were going after for a little while. So I'm excited to see how this guy does. And he screams a poppy guy. I don't know if you get that feeling, Luis, but he screams a poppy guy.
Yeah, this is obviously while I think everybody in the fandom, everybody that was at the press box loved Araujo's grit. I think Ojeda offers, in my opinion, after also kind of looking at some RSL data and also stats from Olympia and all the other teams he played on. He played also in Middlesbrough. He had a stint there in the championship. I think he offers more of a complete package of what we're looking for as a midfielder. As David was saying, with his multifaceted playmaking as a 5, as an 8. He also offers, in my opinion, I think more progressive carries, and he also has more one-on-one take-ons. I think it's over 0.5 progressive carries over per 90 minutes over Araujo last season on that position that he was playing at. And he just doesn't win the ball. It shows that he kind of moves it forward. Now, what Atuesta was doing last season was just doing it by instinct. That was really his natural position. He's more of a forward guy, not looking back, not defending, and that's why there were so many gaps and so many turnovers on that side. I don't think that would happen with him. Also, he's coming to, and this is what really upsets RSL fans, career best year, 5 goals. He was like the Leagues Cup guy for RSL over Diego Luna. He had 5 goals. He also provides that kind of shot from distance threat that Orlando City. I don't think they barely shot from distance aside of Pasalic, but he
Yeah.
could shoot. He could shoot with his right foot, and again, he could be like you said, a box to box, an 8 or a 6, right? Allowing Pareja to rotate between a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-3-3 without losing defense. And in the way, if you have a good mid that's able to hold the ball and also be able to play with the wings, you're going to have a stronger back line. Now, what was happening last year was we would lose the ball in the mid, and then the back line had to step in and do double duty because we had Gerbe that was a great hustler for the ball, but he played injured most of the year. And then you had Araujo that didn't even want to play, and then you had, so it was a lot of those positions. We had a lot of gaps there. And
Luis, too, we can't forget, Cartagena's coming back from injury. So
yeah,
we don't necessarily know how fit he is. We won't know until preseason kicks off next week and kind of what that looks like. But what's really nice, I think, about this move more than anything else is, I think, number one, it pushes Atuesta. It either tells Atuesta he's got to step up and grab that second double pivot spot if he wants it, or Ojeda is just going to pass him, right? One of those two things are going to happen. But the second thing it does as well is that if Cartagena needs more time, that's okay, right? Because now we just brought in another guy who's going to come in and do this. Or same thing with Otavio. If Otavio needs a little bit more time to get used to the system, to get used to the league, to get used to the United States, he's going to have it, right? Because now we're going to have a bunch of guys that can back up and play. And what was one of our weaknesses last year? We didn't have enough midfielders to fill in when people got
100%.
injured, right? So you can't hate the fact that this guy's going to come in here and cover those spots for you. And like a lot of people we love our utility players in Orlando, right? The guys that can play in a lot of different spots. He's a utility guy, but I would say he's a utility guy in maybe 2 or 3 spots, but he's pretty good in 2 of them, and he's very good in 1, I would say. And I think that's the reason why fans should be really excited about this, is that this guy's going to hit the ground running. Plus, which we didn't mention either, he's on a green card, so he doesn't take an international spot either.
He doesn't get international spot.
So that's awesome business right there. His salary is around, I think, 600 or 650,000. We know he just got a new deal, so maybe he got a bit of a raise when he came over, which would be fine, honestly, in the grand scheme of things. But just a really tidy amount of business. And this was the league business we were looking for, right? We talked about this last week. It's not a free agent, but we were plagued for a lot of years with Luis Muriel, for whatever reason, of just not doing a lot of league business or just not doing a lot of quality league business. And now we had Spicer last year at the at the window last year, and now we've got this guy. I think so far our league business has been pretty good so far.
Yeah, and also to add to what you say, no MLS stacks. I mean, you have, unlike Otavio, like you said, and Thiago, that are really brand new and under 20, essentially. Ojeda already has that MLS experience of 123 MLS matches. So there is really zero gelling, zero, acclimatation for him in the MLS. If Pareja wants, he could start a match day 1 against the Red Bulls, and you kind of know exactly what to expect. Also, signing him for so long until, pretty much with a 2030 option, it means that Orlando has kind of put a lot of has had this in mind for a long time. And this is not just a signing that is like, out of the blue. They've thought this through already, knowing that he's kind of like the Wilder Cartagena insurance, because like you said, David, and I'm glad that you brought it up, coming from a long-term Achilles injury, it's a question mark to know, and also a massive risk to be on a midfield collapse again, right? And especially if his recovery, he goes back into recovery, or he goes against to, he ruptures her again. It could happen. Unfortunately, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it could happen. Or
Sure.
it could be like he goes to be the old Wilder that we know. But Ojeda, I don't feel if this was just a depth movement for Orlando. Like you said, I think it's a high-level insurance policy who may get a starting job outright, essentially.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a really good move. So we got a kind of more of like we got a little younger, more offensive-minded version of what we had last year. Obviously, using the GAM is kind of like Weavy said, getting creative. You know what I mean? And we kind of weakened a really big Western Conference rival for everybody. So, yeah. So we're going to read some comments real quick here. It says here, LGDPSG 101. Still need a new goalkeeper, though. It says here. No, we already got a goalkeeper, sir. So are there going to be 2 jerseys with the name Ojeda on the back? Yes, more than likely so, sir. Yeah. So
unless Martín goes by Teen Show, I don't know. Maybe he puts Teen Show on the back.
yeah, that'd be actually funny. That'd be pretty
I'm
good.
here for it. I'd buy a Teen Show jersey. I'm here for it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Landon says Ojeda plus Ojeda link up will be great.
Ojeda squared, baby. Ojeda squared.
Vinco says, good evening. I hope Orlando City does well this season. Greetings from Peru. Thank you, Vinco. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. But yeah, it's going to be Ojeda Square in Orlando, and it's going to be fantastic. Now, at Mr. LGD PSG 101, let's go with what he was saying. So thank you again. We got a new goalkeeper, and this is a guy who we actually mentioned on the last episode, because literally based on what we looked into for goalkeepers in the free agent market, the only one that stood out for us that we said this guy is solid is Maxime Crépeau. And this is the guy who's probably going to be taking over the gloves for Orlando City. A proven MLS winner, a leader. I think it's, to me, the presence we need between the posts. Obviously, the first Orlando was aiming very high with Coronel. And obviously Coronel, pretty much decided last minute he wanted to go to Sao Paulo, and that's his decision. Again, it's shitty, but it's his decision in the end. But I think with Maxime Crépeau, Orlando can build, and this is a keeper that, in the end, we're grooming. In my opinion, we're grooming Otero, and Otero is our future, and we're still kind of 70-30 on the 70 not start, 30 start. This is a keeper that easily we can bench, and he ain't going to get mad about that. He's not gonna have that ego of, obviously he's gonna fight for his position, but he's not gonna have that ego that we have to deal with. Hey, we're they're benching me and things like that. And I think Ojeda is going to have also a lot of playing time, because he's going to be going with Team Canada at the World Cup. So there's going to be, I think it's in a way, a win-win, just like it would have been with Coronel, because with Coronel, he was going to have, Otero was going to have the same amount of playing time, more than likely. So, because Crepeau and Coronel are not coming to Orlando to be number 2. You know what I mean? They're coming to, put the gloves on and start playing against the Red Bulls in the first game of the season. So he's also in a really big battle, and this comes from also Golazo Canada. That's the outlet that I'm citing. There's a big race with in Dane Sinclair for the position of the number 1 from Canada. He kind of felt a little shafted after Copa America, because he did so great with Team Canada, and then Dane got the starting job after that. And then, it's been a battle between them two. Now he's in a, from where he was at, from Portland to Orlando, closer to Dane, an arrival, so it's just, really going to be fun to see, going from Portland to Orlando City. I think he's going to come to the East, which is a tougher division, a tougher conference, and I can't wait to see him in purple, man. What are your thoughts on Maxime Crépeau? I know that I'm probably butchering his name, but French is not my first language.
No, you're pretty close there. So I'm gonna play the middle of the line here. I'm not the most excited about Crepeau, but I'm not in the sort of cellar like some people are. Let me put this in perspective for a few folks, right? For those that haven't been following the league for very long, and for those that have, I'll give you a nice little refresher. Crepeau was the guy in like 2021 and 2022 before he had that really nasty leg break that he had. That sidelined his career for a little bit and all that kind of stuff. And don't forget too, he ended up getting sold to LAFC for a lot of money. They wanted to bring him over here to do that, but then of course the LAFC brought in Hugo Lloris, and after that, it's kind of been one season here, one season there, a couple seasons there, whatever it is. This is what I'll say about Crepeau. The one thing that we can be happy about is, like Luis said, he's gonna have to compete for the starting job for Canada. And so to me, there's already that built-in drive to not only grab the number one spot, but to have a really good start of the season with Orlando City, right? So that's a plus for us right there. We were going to have a similar type drive from Carlos Coronel as well if he
100%.
joined us. So I liked the fact that both of those guys sort of had drive that they needed to compete for those spots. The thing I know that a lot of people are down about is his numbers as of late are for sure not great. Honestly, to be completely aware of everything here. He's around the top 20. He's like around 20 to 17 if you look at the different ratings and things like that. To get a little bit into the numbers for those of you that are really interested in that, save percentage that a lot of people like to throw out is not a individual stat for goalkeepers. So when you think about goalkeepers, one of the first thoughts you want to have is don't think about save percentage. Save percentage is a team stat, right? Things can make shots more difficult or easier depending on what your team in front of you does, right? So Orlando City, especially towards the end of the season, sort of had a defense that was like Swiss cheese a little bit at times, where they just was a bunch of holes and keepers faced harder shots. That's going to make your save percentage go up or down depending on how that works. The statistics that you're looking for in order to see whether or not something is, if a keeper is doing well or not doing well, there's really two main statistics. Number one, it's the level of shots that a goalkeeper faces. So how difficult the shots are that a goalkeeper faces, because that goes into the overall sort of idea of what it is. And then what FOTMob likes to call goals prevented. That's a statistic that FOTMob likes to use. There's probably a lot of FOTMob users out there and things like that. That's what that statistic is. If you go on FBref, which is like sort of like my holy grail of statistics and different things like that, on FBref, the number that you're looking for there when you're looking at things like that is sort of the post-shot expected goals per shot on target. It's a mouthful, but that's the one that tells you how likely a goalkeeper is to save a shot. So based on what they see, where the shot's taken, how the shot is taken, what it looks like, all that kind of stuff, that should tell you what it looks like. And then there's a statistic right below it, which is post-shot expected goals minus goals allowed. That is sort of the skill or luck that goes into whether a keeper has done well with saving a ball or has done poorly at saving a ball. And that one is based on a scale from -2 to +2. So that's the best way to think about it. So in his 2021 season, as comparison, he ranked in the 93rd percentile in that second statistic. So how well or how skillful he was at being able to save the ball. That's exactly what you're looking for in your goalkeeper. That right there, the 93rd percentile, is a top 5 goalkeeper stat, right? The problem is when you go and look at a season like last season, that number isn't on the same level. When you look at last season, he was at a -0.11, so he's below the average goalkeeper, which already isn't good, and he ranked in the 30th percentile in Major League Soccer, which puts him in 19th or 20th. That's where the concern comes from, and I get that, and I totally understand that. Yeah. I had the same thought. The only thing we can really hope for is sort of two things, right? The first thing that I mentioned is that he becomes super motivated to make his national team, to become the number one, that he does all the training that he needs to do. He gets as good as he can before that happens, and he balls out for us. Or number two, he comes in, does the best that he can, but Otero beats him out. And the reason why I think that's a good scenario for us is that that means that Otero probably has the skills then at that point to start for us and put in good shifts and good games for us going forward. Because I know there's some concern in the fan base that many think Otero's not ready for this. I lean more towards the side that I think he might be up for it now after the couple of games that we've seen over him the past couple seasons. The problem with Otero is he doesn't have a lot of games in his repertoire, even with playing with OCB. Remember, Mercado was mostly the OCB goalkeeper last season, right? It wasn't Otero because Otero had to be the number 2 for Pedro Gallese. So he wasn't getting a lot of games with OCB. So when you don't get a lot of games as a goalkeeper, and we've seen this across the league, your skill tends to drop because you're not playing. And so I think that's the bright side that everyone should look at this with. Either Crepeau's going to come in here, he's going to be motivated, he's going to ball out, or he's going to push Otero to the fact where Otero's going to go and take the job from him. And I think if that's the case, everyone should be excited about what that looks like. And I know the overall thought is, well, doesn't that mean that the ceiling is lower or whatever it is? Sure, the ceiling might be a little bit lower if that's the outcome that happens, but we finally are getting a goalkeeper that this club has been very head over heels about for the last couple of years. We finally get him to a point where now he can show us what he's got and what that looks like. So I know I threw a lot at everyone right now, but I think it's interesting to kind of look at that and piece it together. I would love to have the 2021 Maxime Crépeau. If he walks in that door and that's what we get, we are in great shape. Because the other thing, guys, you have to remember is he's going to make so much less money than what we were paying Pedro Gallese. He's going to make probably about half when the contract is done, which means that's more money we can spend elsewhere. And there's some holes that are going to be in front of him. And that's my bigger worry, is who's going to be in front of Crepeau or Otero. Because right now it's Robin Janssen and David Brecalo. And that's it. So
yeah, and you know, to add to what David said, you know, you have to signal this as an end of an era and the start of a future in the goalkeeping corps. So you're replacing the legend like Pedro Gallese, you know, that, you know, it's just never been with him, just saving percentages. I just think this move is just changing the team's defensive DNA. It's just part of that change. And, you know, again, Gallese's cost was astronomical, 1.24 million around what he was actually bringing into the table numbers wise. So it just kind of makes sense. One of the highest paid keepers in the MLS. And that 1.24 million was guaranteed. Now, Crepeau, the advantages are the upside of Crepeau. Again, it goes to what Orlando likes to buy, you know, low cost, high reward, you know, with that type of gap ceiling. Orlando avoided a heavy transfer fee, just like David say. You know, pull off the Braian Ojeda deal, right? So it kind of the GAM kind of allocated himself, you know, to get those type of signings. You know, when Gallese is known for the impossible saves and the octopus, he's more of like a reflex keeper, more of like high reflex based keeper, where I personally see Crepeau more of a traditional, high-level, conservative MLS keeper. He won't necessarily have the most extravagant saves Gallese had, but definitely has shown, like in 2021, more consistent on the line of what people look within MLS for a keeper, right? So he, in 2024, 2025, like David was saying, he maintained a high save percentage, especially in pressure moments. I already mentioned the Copa America. He was definitely one of the highlights of his team, aside of Schaffelberg and aside of Jonathan David. I think those three that I just mentioned were the highlights of that team in Copa America against Peru. He even faced Pedro. He did a better job than Pedro in that game. You know, so the problem with Gallese too was what Pareja is looking for, and maybe why they kind of went for Crepeau was, you know, looking at some videos of Crepeau and kind of following his career. He looks like he's very comfortable with the ball at his feet, and Orlando likes to play out from the back. And if you look at the distribution of Gallese when it has come, especially the last 2 seasons, has been a little inconsistent when it comes to building out from the back. So he was throwing those long balls, and sometimes they'll get nowhere. Some of them They will get to Muriel. They will get to Duncan. And there were a couple of goals that were, I think he had one assist like that one time, but it was really not consistent. I think Crepeau has the advantage that he's a little bit more comfortable with the ball in his feet. So Orlando is going to be able to build attacks from the goalkeeper position, which kind of fits what Oscar's looking for. Now, what David just said, kind of Gallese was like a silent leader, more of like somebody that commanded immense respect in the locker room. Obviously, replacing that, it is a little bit of a risk, but a lot of the big figures are kind of gone. I think the only one left, I believe, is maybe Jansen, but especially in the back line. Crepeau kind of brings a little bit of a different kind of fire. He's been into the finals in MLS. He's had a couple of, like the leg breaking, tackle in 2022, right? Like David was mentioning. So he kind of has that edge onto him as well, just like Pedro. Now, when I say legend, I mentioned Pedro because of everything he's accomplished. He's more of an experienced goalkeeper than Crepeau. Also on the level, Canada and Peru. Peru is really bad right now in FIFA rankings, but they play in CONMEBOL. They have to face tougher opponents than Canada in their own confederation. So, but I do believe that, like David was saying, if Otero has a massive start of the season, and Crepeau is crapping, if Crepeau is crapping the bed, there's no harm done for Pareja to make that decision to bench him, and Crepeau's gonna be like, okay, well he beat me, you know what I mean? There's gonna be no ego there. I think that if a Pedro would have taken it probably a little bit different than a Crepeau, you know what I mean? Even a Coronel, I would say he'll probably feel a little salty about, but a Crepeau, you have that option that, if Ojeda does tremendous, it's a huge step up in a huge kind of very similar goalkeepers in style to go at it, not only in Orlando City for the number one position, but also he's going to have a great competition in the Canadian national team. So anything you want to add on Crepeau, David, before we go to comments?
No, I think I all I can say is I understand people's kind of reservations and things like that, but I think the best thing for us to happen right now is if we get a strong goalkeeper competition heading into preseason and into camp, and we really just kind of let these guys battle it out with each other, and we kind of see what comes out of it. I'm really curious to see how many matches we do end up getting to see of the club this preseason, because I think it'll be nice to see if we get sort of who the leader in the clubhouse is, number one, but also maybe, what they look like when they're on the field and kind of how they command their space or how they, do those kind of things. Because remember, Otero's got the institutional advantage, right? He's been with Orlando City for a bit now. So he knows the players a little bit more. He knows Poppy obviously a lot better. So it'll be curious to see what that sort of fight looks like for sure.
Yeah, let's read some comments real quick. It says here, so we should be worried that Team Chuck could believe see first Ramiro, now Ojeda, Sace, and so. Well, we'll discuss it in just a second. But when when people mention the Ramiro thing, guys, it's part of soccer. I mean, he was never going to be worth. You know what I mean? Like he was never gonna. It sounds bad what I'm about to say, but he was never gonna be worth $1 million, bro. You know what I mean? So like we had that cash offer. He was not promised minutes, and Orlando got a cut, got paid, and then he did was best for Ramiro. Now you gotta also understand. Yes, the Saudi league, guys, it's divided in only 3 good teams. The rest of the teams, bro. DC United right now. Look, DC United Communications right now. DC United Communications and Orlando City Communications together making a team can beat 6th place downward in the Saudi League. Bro, it's completely a huge gap in quality. Don't like we have to talk with like really like the facts, bro. I'm gonna be like 6'9". I only speak facts, bro. You know what I mean? Like, so this whole Ramiro thing, boo-hoo, bro. It's soccer. Like this, that's the way it is. We gotta get paid, and then now Ramiro's freaking great. Is he gonna make the Argentina national team? Probably not. So don't good for him. But
I
I
mean,
just
I'll say this: the timing stinks. I'm with everybody on that. I hate the timing of it, and I get it. The money was just too good, I think, for the team to pass up. And I
yeah,
think
it's
they
like 3
also,
million or something.
and I think also they had more faith that either Muriel was going to get back on a heater or that Duncan McGuire was going to come in and do that, but they
Yeah,
both went cold, and
exactly.
that's what it turned into, unfortunately.
Like I mean, unless you want to keep Ramiro, tell Al Khulud, hey, bro, f your money, vamos Orlando, vamos Lions, and you have an upset Ramiro. Say, hey, bro, you just turned down $3 million. I could have gone play in the Saudi league.
Well, that's the other part is we don't know how much Enrique is getting paid either. He might have gotten a really nice increase going to the Saudi league. So
And you have to understand they already were dealing, and this is per sources, with an upset Cesar Araujo because they did that to Araujo in the 2024 season. There was an offer that came from Uruguay. Orlando said no to the player. The player got mad. That's what a lot of people don't know. So the club didn't want to go into another, having a player that not only it's depth for them, but it's going to be upset at the club for saying no.
yeah,
Just because the fans say so. I'm
yeah.
sorry, fans, but that is the way the world is. I don't make the world. So this is here. I'm still a little skeptical with Maxime Crépeau. There you go. Aren't we all? 100% more worried with our defense. Yeah, I agree. Booty sweat 1, 2, 3. Signing a good center back. I think whoever the keeper is will be fine. We'll see. If Crepeau plays well, he'll be off with the Canada men's national team anyway. So Tara will play plenty of time. I agree with you. There, Jorge Alexander. So Marin is going to be our left back. Oh Lord, yeah, I agree with you there, Jorge. 100%.
As of right now,
As of right now, it looks like yes.
we'll
I
see.
would like to think Ricardo has something in store for us on the left back position.
Luis, I was thinking about this. I think it's either that or I know Reed Brown has been putting in work this offseason.
Yeah,
He's been putting
hey.
a lot of work in this offseason. I would love to see maybe not a Freeman-esque jump because I don't think he's at that level yet to do that. And plus,
Yeah.
that's a once in a million thing. I don't think it's going to happen again that quickly. But I'd love to see a quality jump from him to see if maybe he can compete there this preseason because I don't think we saw enough of him last preseason. I felt like, and now that we kind of have two guys that. Like I would definitely not say that it's Marion's spot. I think a lot of fans would say it's not Marion's spot. I would love to see again if Oscar lets these guys duke it out and just kind of see what it is. Because yeah, like everybody else, I'm not convinced that he's the guy. I'm just not.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's. I don't think Marin is the guy. I think Orlando jumped the gun on that signing. I think on a personal note, we would have been better with Taifi on building Taifi. But I think again, this is Oscar's decisions that we're gonna have. I mean, last season he made those decisions, and they decided, hey, it's a player from Villarreal that's coming, a lot of upside. But then, bro, I mean, he didn't play since August of 2024. He was without a lot of minutes when he arrived. So he was coming of an injury, and the MLS is very physical. I just really think that it was bad timing. I think they would have gone for a young guy or more of like an MLS ready guy in the window. Somebody with MLS experience would have done a little better. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just my opinion on that particular sign, especially on the defense side. But we'll see. I really don't think Oscar is gonna start him. It's something tells me. Hopefully, I'm correct. Because if he does,
Yeah.
then we'll be talking to a different tune. But we're going to be discussing now we're going to be diving into some of the transfer rumors. And there is one that I'm going to be talking about right now that's coming from Brazil. I know this is not the exact Twitter, but it's kind of pretty much that. So according to Ekrem Konur, I believe he's from Turkey, right here, from Mundo Deportivo, from Bild, from Goal, from Dario As, from BBC. He's right now with Caught Offside. Palmeiras is working diligently to trying to sign Orlando City's Martín Ojeda. That's what it says here. The Brazilian team is pretty much battling it out with Argentinian clubs for the Orlando City player. So I respect the Crepeau Noor. I think he's a tremendous source. He's gotten it pretty much right. I mean, Martín Ojeda is one of the top players in the MLS. So I'm really not surprised of this. I just really don't think this is going to happen. It's gonna have they're gonna have to put in a lot of money. I mean, they're gonna have to put in a lot of money for Orlando to even think about it. He's a really big piece of the puzzle. I believe he wants to stay in Orlando. He's very happy in Orlando, him and his family. And, the club really has rallied behind him to be almost like a co-captain. So I don't really think his time is up with Orlando. We just have to see how much they're going to have to pay more than what they pay for Facu Torres, to us. So,
Yeah.
So if they're willing to pay more than what they pay for Facu Torres, then I'm sure Ricardo will be listening. Now, all I can tell you that Argentinian clubs, with all due respect with Argentina, they don't have the money, bro. Aside of Boca and River, with all due respect, or Talleres, they don't have money. So much so that a player from the Ecuadorian league, Espinelli, is being signed by Talleres, which is one of the teams that has a lot of money there, and that their fee is $2 million. So if that's like your top signing right now in the offseason for Argentina, $2 million, that's not what this guy is worth. They could be kind of talking about it, like, oh yeah, he's a good guy. Oh, he comes from the MLS. Oh, we're better because we're Argentina, man. Muchachos, right? But it's not the way it is. They're gonna have to pay up a lot of money. I think it's a cool rumor because Palmeiras is a massive club. We've already done business with them. There's already a connection with Palmeiras. But I don't know if him and his family that have their Disney season pass holders are going to be willing to kind of just throw all of that away to go to Brazil. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, David? I really don't believe this.
Yeah. So to give a little context for those that those who don't follow along, just not to plug myself too much here, but just to plug a little bit my Twitter. You can follow me at Fladoodler18 on X. This all started on New Year's Day. Actually, the first inkling of this we got on New Year's Day. There was a guy by the name of Jorge Nicola who covers sports down there, and he basically said that there were some inklings about Ojeda and Palmeiras being interested and things like that, and he put out a video talking about it. And basically, what he said in the video was that he had heard these rumors and that they were definitely founded, and that Palmeiras was definitely interested. And then he said that he reached out to Ricardo Moreira, and he said Ricardo said, "quote Nothing has arrived from Palmeiras to the club, and it's safe to say that Ojeda isn't leaving." And then Nicola added the context that the club views him as a great key player for the squad. And then he said, and I don't know if Nicola came up with this or if Ricardo told him this or a combination of things, but he said Ojeda currently carries a value of around $20 million USD. So it'd have to be around there at least to try to be considered for something like that. So then you followed up with the rumor that Luis was just talking to you about, where now we're hearing that it is more serious and that they're interested. There's also like another sub rumor that I haven't been able to track down that apparently Sao Paulo is interested now. But normally when these big Brazilian teams get involved, they all start getting involved because they're like, wait a minute, what am I missing out on? And things like that. And the reason why the second source was so important that Luis just showed you, which is the first one for this, but the second one in the timeline, is because it was apparently said that someone from the front office rated Martín Ojeda and was thinking that he'd be a good addition for them because they're looking for an attacker to add to Palmeiras' squad before the season starts. And so, and then also in that same rumor, there was a rumor that Argentinian clubs were in the transfer race as well. Like Luis said, if it's not Boca, if it's not River Plate, I don't think it's anybody else in that country because they're not going to be able to afford them. So what I think all this is about is, unless somebody comes in with what we like to call a Godfather offer, like they come in with 25 million or whatever it is, or something like that, Orlando City's going to say, there's the door, see you later. We don't care. This guy is too important of a piece to come over here, to leave, sorry. He's one of our mainstay pieces. He's one of the guys we're looking to build around and things like that. Orlando's not going to turn around and ship him off. How likely do I think this is that this happens? About that much. I don't think there's really any chance, unless somebody comes in with a Godfather offer that the club can't ignore. But I just don't think it's going to happen.
No, clubs are allowed to want our players.
Sure.
But it's also, I mean, bro, Sporting Pelotas from the 4th division of Brazil can freaking want our players. That's perfectly fine. But it's, how much money do you have, bro? Show me the cash, bro. Show me the moolah. Because Martín, like David was saying, is a guy who we're trying to build a team around, all that stuff. He's happy here. I know for a fact Brazilians are going to want to pay around the less than 14 million. They look, when they signed Facundo Torres, they threw 14 million offer. And I mean, for us and what Facundo gave to us, I think it was great money. This guy broke his record in one season. So automatically that 14 million is no good, bro. You got to give me at least 10 million more, because he broke that record so fast, And so, look, if Palmeiras is going to give us, like he said, 20 mil or more, we can think about it, I feel. And I think that's how the club thinks about it. I really don't think it's going to get anywhere. I really doubt Argentinian clubs are able to afford a player like Martín Ojeda right now at his level. And, also Argentina's a little biased, just like in Brazil, because they have so much depth of players for the national team. Clearly, Ojeda had better numbers than many of the players in the national team of Argentina on a regular season, but he was never called up.
Yeah,
you know why he was never called up? Because he plays in the MLS. That's the honest truth, and maybe he feels moving to Brazil kind of like Facu. Oh, I'm gonna move to Brazil because I'm gonna get to the Uruguayan national team, and I don't know. Hey, maybe it did work out for him. He's not making the same impact he made in Orlando, but he played Copa and he played a lot of tournaments with his national team. I don't really see Martín. I think if he wants to play for his national team, he certainly would, but I don't think this is something that it's his dream, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's something like he's like desperate to do. But we'll see, I really don't think I think it's a rumor that's gonna go nowhere. Says, imagine a team with both Facu and Ojeda could be lethal. Well, Facu coming off the bench, Ojeda starting, that'd be hilarious. Frankie Cosmos, did John get traded for Gam? No, he's in England right now, spending time with family. Frankie, appreciate you. I think it's too late for him to make a selección of Argentina. Yeah, at 27.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Good point, my friend. So Marin is going to be a left back. Oh man, yeah. But yeah, that's one rumor right there. That's some of the stuff that's brewing there for Ojeda. I really don't think that's going to happen.
I'll say this, Luis, guys, he's going to come up more often. The more he starts
Yeah, I'm
balling
sure.
out and the more he starts doing, he's going to get mentioned a ton. So just you're going to see stuff like this.
Well, I have
And
a colleague already told me that Botafogo. It's like, hey, he covers Botafogo there.
Mhm.
Where Hulk plays, and he's like, oh, no, Hulk doesn't play there, but
He plays Atletico Mineiro is where Hulk
Atletico
plays.
Mineiro, no, but he
Yeah,
told me Botafogo. Oh, Botafogo is looking for him too. I was like, bro, if Palmeiras, bro, you guys don't have the money that Palmeiras has, but
it's gonna be
whatever.
Palmeiras. It's gonna be Palmeiras and like Flamengo are probably the two that have
Yeah,
the money to
yeah,
spend for this guy.
Flamengo definitely. And again, I think you mentioned the front office. I know a lot of people from the front office, unless I haven't met them, but I mean, I know that there's most of the front office is Flamengo, bro. Like Ricardo's is a Flamengo fan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where they got there's a Palmeiras infiltrator in there, but we'll see. But again, obviously we have to talk about El Toro Muriel, Luis Muriel, with the junior FC Saga. The veteran's exit is turning into a soap opera. Muriel is reportedly desperate to return to Junior de Barranquilla, his club from his youth, for their 2026 Copa Libertadores campaign. While Muriel is reportedly willing to take a 50% pay cut, Junior is struggling to finalize the deal without further private investment, which we'll dive in just a moment. And then the latest update is that, again, and we've known this since I think we covered it in the past 2 episodes. Orlando has already told Muriel that he's in part of the 2026 plans. So,
but Luis, I think that's important for it to come from South American reporters.
yeah,
because now that they're hearing it on that side, it's getting through to everybody that like there's no leverage here, right? Because a lot of times the South American reporters were saying and fans were saying the leverage is over there, the leverage is over there, the leverage is over there, but it's not anymore. That Junior doesn't have the leverage. The leverage now is with Orlando City because they're saying, hey, either way, we're wiping our hands with this dude. We're not going to the season with him. So.
Yeah, so 50% pay cut. Junior is struggling to finalize the deal because, again, you have to understand, and there's a lot of Junior's fans are very adamant of having him, and that's fantastic. I think Orlando City. I think the way he came into Orlando, he presented himself to the fans, and when he delivered, it turned off fans here. So just like we understand your hype on the guy, please understand the dissatisfaction fans have for him. And it's not personal. It's just that he's not representing the club the way the fans expected. And fans here hold their team very dearly. In South America, we tend to forget and tend to forgive stars sometimes too easy, and also understand the realities. And I do want to tell you, the Colombian fan that's probably watching, Copa Postobon or Copa Colombia, it's your Colombia, bro. So you are living your Colombian reality. Like, that's your league. You know what I mean? MLS and Orlando, that's our league. And we deal with things a little different. You may not like it. You may not like how things are done here. But, that doesn't give me the right to criticize your fan base, your fans, your opinions, just because I don't understand, you know what I mean, how you do things over there. And we expect the same here. Don't be a dick. Don't be an asswipe. Don't be disrespectful to the fans here in the MLS in the United States of America, because you just don't understand our league. So take it however you want to take it, but it's just the way it is. I mean, fans here are not impressed with Muriel. Over there, you guys kiss his feet. That's perfectly fine. We're not judging that. It's just two different realities, and that's the bottom line.
Mhm.
The the club doesn't want Muriel. That's just the bottom line. If the junior
Nope.
move collapses, a buyout is a real possibility to free up his DP spot.
I think it's more. I think a full buyout
what are
is
your
more
thoughts?
possible. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think a full buyout is more possible now than it's ever been through this entire saga. And then listen, guys. You know, my comments last week about Muriel did not excite some junior fans. And for
No,
those,
I'm
I
sure.
apologize. For those, I apologize if it didn't excite you. But
No,
you
you
have
don't
to
have to.
understand the reality of what is happening here. Muriel has been a bust, abject failure as a DP,
Yeah,
right? He's
100%.
had his moments. I'm not going to take those away from him. He had his hat trick against Necaxa. He's had all those other things. I get it. And I give him credit for those things. But the rest of the seasons, especially the first season he
Bust.
came in on, bust. And so
Bust.
I I want nothing more in the world for him to return to his boyhood club and have him help them win other things if that's what they're going to go do. Awesome. Power to them. The problem now has turned into we're now realizing that either Junior doesn't have the money to pay him what he's looking for, or they don't want to pay him the money that he's looking for. And so for those of you that haven't maybe been following it as much, the 50% pay cut was the thing that came out. There's other sites that say he potentially could take a bigger pay cut than 50%. So maybe it's more than 50, but we'll see. But if you think about it, he was supposed to make $4 million with us this year, right? So if he takes a 50% pay cut, that's $2 million. That's easy math, right? Then there was a rumor that came out yesterday from, what was it, Pipa Sierra, I think it was.
Yeah, it's Pipe Sierra. He's actually the Tom Bogart over there.
Yeah, so Pipa came out on his live stream and he said that not only was Muriel willing to take the 50% pay cut, but that also a company by the name of Technoglass said they would cover 15% of his salary, basically, to bring him to
That's
Junior.
accurate.
And so that right there means that Junior then at that point would have to pay him about $1.7 million. This past year, they just let go. Was his name Boca? I think was his striker that's been there for a while, or Baca.
No,
Baca, I think his name. Yeah.
Carlos Baca.
And so I think when I looked into his salary numbers and things like that, Baca made just shy of 1 million USD last year. That was what he got paid. So that's really the difference that we're talking about in terms of wage is about $700,000, right? So if I'm Orlando City, I think that, or Muriel, because he might be coming back to us to beg for it at this point. If I'm Orlando City, I think I go back to the table and I go to him and I say, hey, listen, we know you want to stay in Colombia. We see that you're training with Junior because now he's training in their facility down there. We see you're training with Junior down there. We see that you want to be there with them. Great. Let's agree. $2 million. We shake hands and we go our separate ways. We'll say the buyout's $2 million. We'll give you $2 million. You do with that what you want. You go back to Junior. You figure out what your contract is going to look like and we move forward, right? That's how we do it. I think that's the way to just put this whole thing to bed at this point. Because again, sort of like Frankie Cosmos says in the comments here, there's no leverage anymore for Junior or for Muriel. Orlando just said already, hey, we're wiping our hands of you, whether you come back or not. He's not going to set foot on the training pitch for Orlando City again. He's not going to step on the field for Orlando City again. So all the leverage is gone for any of that. So if I'm Muriel, I come back on my hands and knees and say, hey, listen, you probably won't give me the $4 million at this point. I get that. Let's say $2 million. We make it a mutual contract termination. We shake hands. Thanks so much for your time. I'm going to go play for Junior now. And that's fine. And he can go play for Junior. The other thing, too, that people might not know is Atlético Nacional, I think, is the other team that said that they'd be interested in him as well. That's still on the table. Apparently, Muriel has kept saying, no, I don't want that offer. I want to play for Junior. I don't want that offer. I want to play for Junior, which makes sense. It's his boyhood club. But then what was also interesting is right before we went on air today, about a couple hours before we went on air, there was a report that came out from a reporter down in Colombia that said apparently some of the people in the front office of Junior are uncomfortable with some of the things that they have seen from Muriel over this offseason, because he's, as we've mentioned on the show, he's done a lot of partying, he's done a lot of dancing, he's done a lot of these other things. And so
firework, half naked.
Yeah. And so apparently now some of the front office is a little worried about sort of the way he carries himself and the way he does things. Now fans don't care about that. Apparently there's another half of the front office that doesn't care about that either. And that's fine. And who knows, maybe that doesn't prohibit this sale at all and it happens and whatever. Not sale, but you know what I mean. And that's fine. But now they're starting to see a couple of the cracks that we saw when he was here, right? There were some rumors about that when he was here, that he liked to have a good time and maybe had more of a good time than go to training, right? Or we know he came in when he came to join us, he came in overweight and he wasn't as fit as people were hoping he would be. So you're starting to see these kind of common things with him. Again, I'm not being personal with Muriel. I wish him the best of success. I hope him and his beautiful family, because he definitely has a beautiful family that he's put together there. I hope they figure out a way to make it work in Colombia, because it sounds like they really want to be in Colombia. But at this point, we have to wash our hands with this. We can't keep dragging this out
Yeah,
week by week by week. It's just getting ridiculous at this
yeah,
point.
and I'm gonna say it in Spanish if you don't mind. Lo que
Sure.
la gente tiene que entender en Colombia, y te hablo a ti, colombiano, parce, parcero. Lo que la gente tiene que entender es que Muriel vino a la MLS a meter entre 14 a 20 goles, porque es Luis Muriel. Porque jugó casi semifinal o finales de Europa League, jugó con el Atalanta, jugó en Selección Colombia, se esperaba mucho, entonces la expectativa no la dio en una liga física. Yo entiendo que en Colombia no es, quizás, y pasa en Perú mucho también, en Argentina y en Uruguay, vienen los jugadores y piensan, es la liga de Estados Unidos, la liga del PlayStation, la liga del ta 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 ta, y vienen acá y se encuentran con una liga súper física, una liga donde tienes que viajar de Orlando a Los Ángeles 6 horas. Entonces, es bastante el diferente clima que hay en todos los estados, las diferentes canchas. Entonces, tienen que entender de que es distinto y la adaptación a todos los latinos, a muchos los han costado, pero con Muriel se le pagó más de 3 millones para que no haya esa adaptación. Él venía a meter goles. Esa era su chamba. No dio la talla aquí, desafortunadamente. Like David is saying, we wish him the best. We wish him the best. We want the best for Orlando City because that's the club that we support. That's the club that we like. That's the club that we support, that we follow. We wish the best to you, to Junior in their league. If he goes and does great, that's fantastic. But there's no personal situations here. You guys live soccer different than we live it here. It's two different cultures. We just have to understand each other, right? So no disrespect, but we certainly feel that it was a bust. It was a bust signing, and it happens with all major clubs in the world. It happened with Aubameyang in Barcelona. It happened with, what's his name? A lot of players from Real Madrid. Some would say Alaba was a bust. Some would say Erjan Kara was a bust. But I think Erjan Kara scored more goals than Luis Muriel. So, we'll bet to agree. We could agree to disagree. But in the end, I think this needs to come to an end. And yes, so David, there was a lot of things about, a lot of confusion about, this company coming in and paying part of the salary. Yes, that it's sponsors usually in South America, especially for clubs that are massive like Junior. They say, hey, I pay 15% of his salary, but he needs to be in every freaking flyer, in every commercial, in every, he needs to put the little hat, he needs to do ads. And for example, Gallese, aside of his contract with Orlando City, that's one thing that you didn't know, he had 3 different contracts with major brands in Peru, making him even more than that $1.2 million that he was making. So some of these companies will pay him out of pocket certain amounts of money. Some players, for example, like Messi, for example, in Argentina, he's sponsored by other businesses. Now with Muriel, sometimes some players, some clubs look for sponsorship to kind of make a little, everybody chipping in for him to play for us. But it's also a big risk because that sponsor, if that player is a bust, that sponsor will never come back to you.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say too, Luis, the one thing I missed in all the stuff is for everyone that doesn't know, Muriel's also looking for a 3-year deal. I'm not sure why 3 years. I don't know where that connection came from, but they did say he wanted a longer term deal and he wanted 3 years. So it's a lot of commitment, right? For Junior, number one, but then also for the company that's going to come in and potentially finance part of his salary. They're going to have to commit for 3 years. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how it works out. But I think for Orlando City, I think the best mindset for us to be in at this point is I think we need to start thinking, okay, he's out of here one way or another. We're either going to buy him out for 4 million. He's either going to come to the table. We're going to do a mutual termination for 2 million or something like that, or we'll end up doing the loan option that we talked about before. And I put that in quotes again, but like the loan option where we give a couple of some money to him and say, okay, Junior, he's your problem. Good luck, blah, blah, blah. But I think now it's a great time for us to start turning our attention to, okay, what DP replaces him, right? Because now we've got a DP spot. I'm sure Ricardo's been doing the work already to make sure that we've got our next DP lined up.
They already took our DP, bro. Gabigol is gone.
I saw Gabigol is gone. Memphis Depay is making good with Corinthians, so it looks like he's going to stay at Corinthians, which stinks. I saw somebody in here mentioned Richarlison, Opombo right there, the pigeon himself. I'm just saying.
There he goes. His booty sweat. It says Braian Muriel and sign Richarlison after the World Cup equal MLS Cup. Well, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind that, honestly. I mean, the only thing that I mentioned in the last spot that I'm scared about Richarlison is his character, right? It's a little bit of like when he's not motivated, he's just the most unmotivated person you want to be around. He's just kind of like in his own world, and he's had some issues in Brazil with the discipline, but we'll see. It says he'll take the buyout for a lot less than the $2 to $3 million salary. The only leverage he has is that OC wants a decent
so that's not but that's a decent amount of leverage, right? Because if Orlando City wants that contract, they can technically fine him for not reporting and things like that. But the problem is they'll never get that much money back. So the leverage is sort of what you mentioned. If Orlando City wants the DP spot and they want to fill it soon, which I imagine they'll want to fill it soon, you would have to kind of negotiate with them and pay them the 2 million or 3 million. And honestly, 2 million is a lot less than 4 million, right? And it's not our money, so I'm talking out of my what, but it is less than the 4 million you would have to pay them, because either you want the DP to come in now and Muriel just continues to drag his feet, then you'd have to pay the 4 million and bring your new DP in, or you just come to the table and you make it an amicable business decision and you just say, hey, Muriel, we know you don't want to be here. We'd like to fill your spot with somebody else. We have to move forward, all this kind of stuff. And then you basically just come in and you give them the 2 million or whatever it looks like.
So we have also Landon saying Ricardo recently posted something that we have it. So just give me a second. Frankie Cosmos says, what does Orlando do if Muriel just refuses to give up any money though? Does Orlando just hold him hostage?
Yeah, so under MLS contract rules, he either has to come back or he gets fined. He gets fined for every week he doesn't make it to training. So, and that's a worldwide thing. That's not just MLS. Like big clubs across the world do that. So if you try to hold out per se, you get fined and things like that. So he's going to lose money. He's going to lose money if he holds out, which would be really stupid. So the one thing I will, Yeah.
Go ahead. No,
I was going to say, the one thing I will say is what I think will be interesting is because preseason kicks off next week, I believe it's a week from today, if I'm not mistaken, because preseason kicks off next week, if they're still working out a deal and it hasn't been worked out yet, Orlando City might grant him an excused absence for him to work out the deal with Junior. However, we did hear out of all the rumors that came out of Colombia, especially from Pipa, he said that within the next 2 days, there should be some kind of resolution. Like Junior should be getting all the things together and things like that. So I imagine it'll be done by the end of this week, and hopefully it is, so we can move on. But technically, if it does drag on a little bit longer, Orlando City could excuse his absence, and then he wouldn't be fined or anything like that. But I think at that point, if you're Orlando City, you just go back to him and say, listen, take the 2 million and get out. Like, just take the 2 million and go. We're just done with this at this point.
Plus, you have to understand, like, you imagine if that happens. He's like, well, he comes back. Bro, fans are going to be outside of the Kissimmee, the Orlando, the Osceola Heritage Park with pitchforks demanding that this guy doesn't set foot against the Red Bulls on the first game of the season. And that's just bad. You know what I mean? That kind of in a way shows your character, like you want to be where you're wanted, when you're loved, and money cannot buy that. Now if you're money driven, then you can just stay there. I've seen it in Peru. It has happened plenty of times. The Peruvian league, just players. Oh, okay, you owe me 3 million, so I'm staying here. I don't care if I'm like fourth, fifth sub. But that's just because they're money motivated. I think with Muriel, I have a feeling that he's really wanting out too. And I think he really wants to be back in Colombia, and that's perfectly fine. I mean,
Sure.
he's been loved there and praised there, and I'm sure he's gonna have a beautiful presentation video once he's announced. So in the end, good for him, good for Orlando. It says, but we're gonna be talking now about another Colombian that pretty much is should be announced. I don't know if it was already announced, but
Not
I
yet.
heard that he was playing. But before we go into Nico Rodriguez and his brand new fade of 2026, Ricardo Moreira posted this about 3 hours ago. It says, "What a year, huh? Captain, it's January 5th." Yeah, so I mean, he's definitely been, trying to fill out those gaps. Yeah, because
Well, and some people, so I don't know if you know much about sort of what people were getting at, but that is a Belgian cartoon, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So people are thinking it might be a hint or a nod to someone from Belgium maybe coming in and joining Orlando City. Be curious to see.
Don't tell me it's my guy. Don't tell me it's my guy. Romelu Lukaku?
I don't know, man. I don't know if it's gonna be Lukaku. I don't know.
Guy. That's my guy, man. Romelu Lukaku. Man, that's the number 9 we need.
Who's he with? Napoli now, I think, right?
Yeah, he's with Napoli, bro. 14 goals, 10 assists.
I don't know if we can afford him, man. I don't know if the money's there.
I don't know we can afford him, but bro, like,
listen, that would turn the league upside down if that were the case.
Bro, people will go crazy, bro. Like, bro.
I can only think. That's all I'll say.
In his worst season, listen to this. In his worst season, which was 2021 and 2024 with Chelsea, because he barely played, he scored 8 goals. That was his worst season. That was his bad slump. But after that, he's been consistently.
Oh, 10, and
12, 14.
Also,
10,
he'd
12,
tear
14.
MLS up. There would be he'd tear MLS up.
He will tear it up.
Yeah.
I mean, gaps, canyons. Oh, jeez, man. But
I'll say this. I don't know. Like, let's kick the Lukaku thing for a second. I don't know how much he'd go for, to be honest with you. I think his market value is like 15 million euros, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So that's technically lower than Richarlison, who we were in for, which we know we were in for. So I don't know that it means anything. I'm not trying to put anything out there. I don't know anything.
De Bruyne? Benteke is not it.
Well, he's hurt, and yeah, there's all that stuff that's with it. So I don't know about that. And then Lukaku, as of this year, makes about 8 million euros. So that's about a DP contract when you do the conversion and all that stuff. I'm just saying, it's some can dream, right? We're looking for a striker.
Man.
We're looking for a striker.
Unless they want to put maybe Jeremy Doku.
I don't know. I'm just wondering if that Brazilian cartoon has a reason for being there. That's all I'll say.
There you go. Yeah.
Because you know how Ricardo is. He's cheeky, man. He puts stuff out there and he tries to get people in on it. So
let's see what people are saying. I'm surprised to see what people are saying. Mike, what is he cooking? There you go,
Shout
Mike.
Out to Mike. Love some Mike. Love Mike.
Shout out to Mike. Is this here? John Rollins TV, believe. I hope this means we're getting a Belgian. Belgian DP.
Yep.
Bro, if it's Romelu Lukaku, bro, I personally will call Ricardo live. I swear to God. I never ask for favors, but I'll be like, sir, thank you. That's what I'm gonna Like I'm gonna call him live and just say he's gonna be hello.
Yeah.
So thank you. If it's Lukaku, bro, I'm gonna go crazy. I've been asking for Lukaku since the freaking pod started.
Let's be maybe a little more realistic. I'll put that in quotes.
Yeah, I
Let's just say a
know.
little more realistic. If
Van der
honestly,
Water.
if it's anybody, oh yikes! If it's anybody who sniffs the Belgian like squad at all, I'm in. Belgium has a great international team. They have a lot of great players that are around it. There's a lot of like good talent out there. So if we're looking at a Belgian, I'm kind of all here for it. If that's sort of what we're talking about here.
I just love it. Like, need some good portal news, dog. It's like, oh man. So hopefully, man, and hopefully I know he's definitely cooking. I mean, definitely. I mean, he just went on vacation, came back, and I bet he'd be hitting him up like even on vacation. Man, I mean, those are the
And here's the thing too, Luis, that I want to put in people's minds, and I don't want to be. I know I said this last week too. I don't want to be alarmist, but we're a week from preseason, right?
Yeah, we
Preseason
are.
camp opens in a week, and so I will say this, and I've said this to a couple of people, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it on the show last week. I'm really glad we don't have CCC this year because this team currently right now would have been in trouble if we had CCC, right?
Yeah, it's
and so the one thing I do like is there is still time. I don't want to be an alarmist. I'm not ringing the bell yet. I'm not doing any of that. I'd like to shout out Spicy Gnocchi, who I interact with a little bit on X.
He's great.
We had a great conversation the other day about sort of where the roster is at and all those kind of things. I'm not ringing the bell yet, but we are getting closer and closer to preseason, and we want these guys to gel, right? We want there to be enough time for these guys to gel. And the more time we wait and all this kind of stuff. Also, clubs have been putting out their preseason schedules. I saw Nashville put theirs out today. They have a really jam-packed preseason schedule. We haven't been on any ones so far that I have seen. There's been a few MLS ones that have come out. I haven't seen us on any of those. And honestly, we should hear in the next couple days what our preseason schedule is going to look like. So I'm really curious to see what that looks like. But talking about ins and outs, another guy very close to the door.
Yeah. So Nico Rodriguez, which got a really awesome fade, 2026. 21-year-old winger, Colombian. He's on the verge of a move back to Colombia. The negotiations with Atlético Nacional are in the final stages, according to many sources, including Pipe Sierra, for a 1-year loan with an option to buy. As of January 4th, he has completed all his medicals already with Atlético Nacional. And this move is pretty much a done deal. It just has to be announced by the club, but it literally frees up a U22 spot, which is crucial definitely for Orlando's roster flexibility. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, I think this is to me a win-win for Orlando. I mean, this guy, and again, this is another episode of, who has the bigger soccer culture. You're an American, I'm a Colombian, type of back and forthness, which I really think it's stupid. This guy in Colombia could have been the next Neymar, okay? But it's Colombia. In the MLS, he didn't cut it. It was very green. And Pareja, I mean, you hear the fans, they lose 3 matches in a row and they want to cut their wrists sometimes. It is like that in the MLS, being completely honest and blunt. And the expectations is for him to just be not as green as we saw it. Like when you talk to Ramiro that first came into the league, he wasn't as green as this guy. Same with Facu when he first came in, even though he was a DP. Martín, the same thing. Even Angulo, who came without many playing time, he wasn't as green as this guy when he started playing. This guy came with games under his belt, with being a starter in a team, a small team in the Colombian league. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, he was a starter, so there was an expectation that he was going to adapt pretty fast. It didn't happen. Now, on his camp, what I don't like is the attitude that his camp has had. To me, I feel like his camp has, I don't know if it's his manager or his agent or whatever. He needs to have minutes. You know what I mean? Like he's that good. And then the MLS is undervaluing him, and that's not the way to, number one, get a first team spot, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to just demonstrate it on the pitch and not on the barbershop. You know what I mean?
True.
Yeah. So to me, it was a disappointing under 22 signing, in my opinion. One of the most. And I wish him the best in Atlético Nacional. And if he doesn't cut in Atlético Nacional, we're gonna see him back in Fortaleza. And I say it right now. If he doesn't cut in Atlético Nacional, this guy is going to end up playing in Peru, in Chile, or in Fortaleza again. So hopefully that's not the case, because Atlético Nacional is a huge club in Colombia, probably one of the most decorated clubs over there. So if he doesn't cut it there, then we'll see. What are your thoughts there, Dave?
Well, yeah, and they have cup aspirations, I think, too. A lot of their fans I've interacted with a little bit have said, they're looking to go win cups this year, right? They're not looking to just kind of meander on by. I'll say this, and I said this last week. I like the kid as a person. I think he was a nice person. I had the opportunity to meet him once. Nice guy and things like that. I think he fell into the exact Pareja trap that we talk about a lot, right? Is Oscar with some of the new guys takes a while to get them into the system. I don't know what it is with Oscar, but it's just this typical thing. You can even look at Martín Ojeda, right? And the reason why this 100%. Is on the top of this is why it's on the top of my mind is because I was talking to some Palmeiras fans about Martín Ojeda, because a lot of them were not happy about them being linked to Martín because they have Facu drama, and they're like, well, Facu wasn't what he was supposed to be, and MLS is a joke, and it's trash, and blah, 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 blah. And I was trying to explain to a lot of them, Martín Ojeda and Facu Torres are not the same player, right?
Exactly.
And all that kind of stuff. But anyway, to get back to Nico Rodriguez, I just don't know that the kid ever really got a shot, and it's probably this is very Thomas Williams-esque in the move we're doing, right? Thomas Williams, we found out, got shipped out because Poppy was asked, are you going to play this guy? And they were told, no, we're not going to play him. And so since that happened, I'd rather this guy go back to Colombia, get some playing time, do what he's going to do. Do I think he's ever back in purple? Probably not. I'd be shocked if he's back in purple, because that buy option, from what we understand, is pretty low. So it should be pretty cheap for if Atletico wants to buy him, or if maybe his previous club wants to buy him and bring him back, and maybe that happens, or one of the other ones. But I hope he does well there. I wish him the best of luck. I know he's got some family stuff going on. I know, Luis, you mentioned that in last week's episode. So I hope, this helps him get closer to his family, and he can kind of attend to those things. We've all been there, right? With family things weighing on our mind and what that looks like. And I just hope that he can figure it out. But for us, selfishly, opening up the U22 spot is huge, great business, right? Because we assume that Nacional is going to cover his salary, which I think they are. And so if that's the case, then that opens a U22 spot for us. And so far, I think we've knocked it out of the park with the two that we've had. Obviously, they haven't touched the field yet, but I still think they are very high quality U22 signings that we have done so far. And if Ricardo has one more of those in his pocket, I can't imagine what we could be looking at. To me, maybe it's a U22 center back, like an up and rising center back that is starting to make moves that we use the U22 spot on. Maybe it's a striker behind Duncan McGuire who can come in and do these things. So there's a few ideas in my head of some folks that we could go and bring in and spend money. I know Atlanta, our good friends up there in Atlanta, just spent $8 million on, I think, 2 of their U22 spots for fullbacks. They spend them on fullbacks this offseason. So there's a lot of different ways that we could go with this. If we don't feel comfortable with our left back spot, which we know we don't right now, that's the way to do it. And then don't forget, I know Alonso is gonna get mad at me for mentioning this, but we could use it for Alex Freeman. If Alex Freeman is looking for a big contract and wants to stay, don't forget, guys, there's the opportunity for us to use the U22 on him as well. So there's a lot of different things we can do with it. So again, I think it's a very good piece of business from Ricardo again. I think Ricardo really is understanding the mechanisms that we have at play here and how we can play with the roster and how that works, and getting a U22 spot, but then also making a player happy at the same time, because I think that's what he's doing with Nico Rodriguez, is a win-win.
I think it's going to be a great piece of business if this gets completed and announced in the next few days, hopefully. But now we're going to kind of touch some, for the last part of the show, just going to touch on the news that I had from Laurel Fowler. I don't know if this will be announced by the club in the next few hours, but for according to Lauren Fowler from Queen City Talk in Cincinnati, Kyle Smith is going to be a FC Cincinnati player in the 2026 season. Obviously, he is definitely a player that, was part of their, he was part of the Dutch Lions, one of their soccer teams there, which has a lot of history with FC Cincinnati, and also is kind of like a full circle in his career, right? After spending so much time in Orlando and being, pretty much a legend here for the club, somebody that was considered, at least for Oscar Pareja, he said he's the best player he's ever coached in all the clubs he's been with. I have nothing but respect for Kyle Smith, and I think I wish him nothing but the best. Obviously not against Orlando, but I do wish him the best of him going home. And I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's going to be able to be closer to family, and, definitely, 216 apps for Orlando, he was born in Cincinnati, played his college and semi-pro there, Orlando definitely is getting, wants to get younger at the fullback position. So the timing was kind of perfect in a way for this kind of full circle moment. And he was part of the Cincinnati Dutch Lions in the USL from 2014 to 2015. He scored 12 goals, 8 assists, all-time leader in points. So a lot of the fans of Cincinnati love this guy. When you go to places in Cincinnati, you see I know somebody was mentioning, a fan that I've spoken to, I believe, pictures of a lot of the FC Cincinnati players on there, and you also see the picture of Kyle Smith with an Orlando City jersey, and it's because James O'Connor kind of discovered him, brought him into the Louisville City when they won titles, and then in 2019 it was James O'Connor signing for Orlando City, bringing somebody from the USL, to the MLS. Over 120 MLS games with the Orlando City Lions. Swiss Army knife. Plays right back, left back, center back, D mid. He plays the 8, the 6. He's an amazing player, high soccer IQ, and he's a locker room guy. Good job, Cincinnati. What are your thoughts on Kyle Smith going to Cincy?
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice homecoming for him. If there was anywhere else that he was going to end up, but obviously a lot of people assumed Cincinnati, and now we're kind of seeing that come to fruition. So it's just great for him. I'm just really happy that it sounds like he's probably going to end his career there, I would imagine. So, I wish him all the best. Of course, like you said, just not against us. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But, a little bit disappointed, like I think some fans were, that we couldn't make it work with his negotiations and things like that. But we very much see that the club is changing the way it spends money and who it's looking at to spend that money on. And I guess he just didn't fit the plans for what we were looking for the future. So anywhere that he was going to end up, Cincinnati's a great spot for him. So I think that's great. And, best of luck to him for sure.
I wanted to show this before we close and read your comments of Orlando City, UK. Did this right here. We'll discuss in just a second.
Good old Taylor.
Yeah, thank you to Taylor for that. We'll read some comments real quick. It says here, didn't Nico Rodriguez go to Anderlecht? No. Honestly, though, says Skitter Jeep, where's the roster at? It feels like we're at least 4 or 5 major positions and need field still. All right, so let's.
Hey, Luis. Before we get to that, I do want to mention the couple young players that got signed today for OCB. For those folks that don't cover don't follow OCB and things like that.
True.
Yeah. I know it's not the most popular. It's not the most popular thing to talk about, but OCB this week signed Juan Rojas. He's the next big goalkeeper that a lot of people have been watching the academy. I've actually been fortunate enough to see 2 or 3 of his games. This kid's the real deal. I'm telling people right now, I've tweeted about this a few times. He's the real deal. He's the next Otero in terms of the talent that's coming through the academy at the goalkeeper position. He's going to be pretty awesome when he gets in, and he most likely should be the starter for OCB. I'd be shocked if he's not the starter for OCB. And then another guy that we added today was Ignacio Nacho Gomez, as he likes to be called, from Velez 2. He's been with Velez 2 for a little bit. He was sort of a wonder kid for them in the middle of the park. He can play a lot of different positions in the midfield, but he's a really good box to box kind of guy. So I'm really interested to see kind of how he does. He's already in Orlando, it looks like, as well. If you do some social media scouting, he spent the holiday here and things like that. So really exciting signing on that front. Don't forget also, we were linked to a player from the Sao Paulo Academy who's going to, or it was a Flamengo, I think. It was Flamengo, I think, who's going to join us as well for OCB this season. So a lot of fun stuff there. And then sort of the icing on the cake of all these young guys, Issa Haruna, who was our round one pick 20 draft pick. It got announced by his coach in college that he's going to be joining us for preseason next week. Fantastic. So Issa Haruna should be with us. And then also Harvey Sarajan, who was our number one pick in the draft at number 5. He will also be joining Orlando City in preseason as well. He is not, as of right now, he is not going back to school either. So both of those guys should join us. I'm a little surprised by Haruna. If anyone has watched any of my sort of coverage of the draft picks and things like that, I thought for sure he was the one that was most likely to go back to school and get some more playing time. But I think he wants to spend the preseason with the club and kind of see how it goes. And he doesn't forego any eligibility yet. So he has time to make the decision if he'd like to go back to school or to go to a different program, or he could go play for OCB. Maybe he views that as a way to do better and get more playing time and things like that. But I'm really interested to see both of those guys come into camp. And then, of course, the assumption is all the defenders, the 2 senior center backs, and then, of course, the fullback should all be with the Lions next week as well, reporting for that. And, of course, I'm really excited about this draft class's crush in Yearwood. I love the kid. Mitch Ferguson, Miller, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but I'm excited for Jalen Yearwood. He's my draft crush out of this class. I really hope he does well for us because I think he could be a player for us as well. So really exciting stuff for the young Lions this year. I know we're kind of hoping across all of our social medias and stuff to bring more coverage of the young Lions. The young purple Lions is the hashtag I'm trying to steal this year to cover them.
No, obviously a lot of fans are like, oh, but those not acceptable, man. You're honing on just college kids. Bro, these are college kids that have more minutes than pro. Like these are that have more than 2,000 minutes. They come from big soccer like universities. They have big soccer programs there. They've won, like they've been NCAA, like nominated for a bunch of stuff. Defender of the year, like Mitch Ferguson. And when I would say hello to Mitch Ferguson because he followed us on everything, like X and my own personal, like everything. So I want to say hello to Mitch. He's been watching LPO. I want Mitch to, we need some new faces, bro. You know what I mean? And it's not just names that we need. We need actually depth and good depth, healthy depth. And why not? We're looking at Mitch Ferguson as a potential U.S. national team, if at some point, right? So I think we need to look at it as the future as well. And, that's the way Orlando kind of does business. We'll see. I'm excited, too, to see Mitch in the preseason, to see Yearwood, to see Haruna, to see Sarajan. I think it'd be great. Are those the ones that they're going to be part of the first team through and through? We'll see. I think out of the whole draft, the ones that look more ready are the 2 center backs.
Well, and I'll say this, Luis.
And
I'll say this too. I think the other thing that people need to think about, and I know we don't talk, the media landscape as a whole doesn't talk about OCB a lot. So one of the things that I think you're starting to see turn with OCB is I think they're really trying to build a much closer culture between OCB and the first team, because I think we kind of been missing that. It's been too much of a jump, I think, for us to take kids from OCB over. I know we've had some success stories as of late, like obviously Alex Freeman and some other folks that have been down there and things like that. But I think the club and Ricardo especially want to make that connection a little bit stronger of a connection. And so if these guys have a good preseason, but maybe not a great one, and don't break with the first team, that's okay, because there'll be spots at OCB, right, for them to fill out and do those things. And so it'd be nice to really build the culture and kind of do that. And then don't forget, we have mechanisms like short-term loans that we can use throughout the season if we need to bring these guys up, and things like that. So there's always kind of things that we can use and do to kind of move forward.
I feel, in my opinion, and we're 150 people live. Thank you, and then we'll read your comments. We'll read the comments first. It says here, honestly, though, where the roster at? I agree with Skeeter G, but I'll talk about that in just a second. Agustino Ojeda, inbound LOL.
No, thank you.
Burst.
Thank you.
Is that the bad uncle of a butt uncle of what's his name? Martin? Frankie Cosmos. I don't think how people think U22 money is enough to keep Alex around. All right, so let me explain that real quick. So I think David mentioned it. So the cap hit is only 200,000, and then you could offer them $1 million if you want, and the only thing that's going to hit your cap is 200,000. So that's how you get creative. And I think Mark Weeby said that as well. Teams, need to get creative. Well, that's one way to keep Alex.
Well, I was going to say the biggest thing
is to be used as leverage to keep Alex Freeman.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that there's no cap on how much you can offer him. You can give him $2 million if you want to. I don't think they will, but you can give him $2 million if you wanted to, and it's only going to hit the cap at 200,000. The money is not the problem. That's the thing. So
it's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's him. It's him saying, "Hey, I want to stay," or "Oh, I want to go to Villarreal or whatever team." I personally think better things are gonna come once he's in the World Cup. And so to me, I think it's smart. Again, it's up to him. In the end, it's up to him, and I'm not gonna be mad.
So Luis, let me say one thing. So Frankie, you're not wrong, but you are a little bit, and let me explain why. So technically, a U22 player, this is straight out of the book, a U22 player can make a max salary budget charge, which for this past year was $743,750. So, or $750. So here's the deal: you can do that, and you can pay him that, but the problem is there are still ways to get around that, and it's the creative part. I can't. It's hard for me to go into depth.
Miami has done it.
Well, also, you don't need to jump to the level of a young DP either. I understand that the young DP designation exists, but there are ways that you can navigate around that to make that work. And that's all I'll say. There are creative ways that you can get around to do that. I understand your point, Frankie, and the fact that he's probably going to make money somewhere else. Like if he was go to Villarreal, they probably pay him 1.5 million, 2 million, whatever it is. But really, I think what a lot of us on this show have said is we don't expect him to be here. Well, either way, he's not going to be here past this year. So if there's a way that you can at least convince him to sign one more year on so we could try to sell him, because we need him to not have the option to go negotiate for free, right? We need one of the things that we can do, obviously, to help us with that is that we can give him the max salary charge, which is probably going to go up next year. We don't know what that number looks like, but it's going to go up next year. We can give him that, but then also we can give him, there are other things that we can do for him that put him in the right spot. And honestly, we'd probably only be paying that to him for like half a season or like 3/4 of a season. So I get what you're talking about, Frankie. I apologize for the kind of like misunderstanding and getting the numbers a little bit mixed and whatnot. But there have been teams that have been creative with the way they do U22s. That's all I'll say. Miami wasn't the one that I heard that's been creative with the U22, but unless Luis has heard something else, but I know teams have been creative with paying their U22s a little bit more than what the max salary budget charge is. But again, Alex Freeman would be going from what, like $100,000 to like $800,000. That's a big raise for sure. And he'd be getting paid a lot of it now versus waiting a year to get paid that much money, that much more. So I don't know. It's just something to consider.
It could be used in the negotiation. That's the whole thing we're saying.
Yeah.
In the end, it's up to Alex if he wants to stay. For what I've heard and what they've told me is that it doesn't look very likely he's going to stay.
Sure.
So with that being said, the club needs, in my opinion, obviously this is not updated because Taylor, and we appreciate you, Taylor, for this, but definitely, in my opinion, we need a left back, we need a right back, If we're gonna run with the center backs of college, which I feel honestly, if you ask me, very confident with Yearwood and with Ferguson and with the Michigan guy. I feel confident with those three dudes, in my opinion. If you look at the nitty gritty, left back, right back, or a left back that can play also center back, or right back can also play center back, and a striker. And then on the left wing, we have Angulo, Spicer, Thiago, and Sukata, which also Angulo could play the right. And we'll have Marco Pasalic, Gustavo Carvalho, and now we have Thiago as well, and we also have now Otavio in the middle. So maybe we need a striker. We already have Ojeda, a second Ojeda here, right? So we're looking at maybe a left back, a right back, a striker, and a winger. You know, because Nico's not going to be here. So I feel like it's going to be Pasalic, Carvalho, and Angulo. That's going to be the depth for right wing.
Right.
On the left wing, it's going to be Spicer, Thiago, and Sukata. So you even it up right there. And I know people don't want to even for me to mention, Ivan Angulo, but then you could state the case that if Muriel is not going to be there, you could have your DP, and then it would be important to have another striker aside of just the DP striker that you want to get, because I think we should have a 3-striker corps right there for 3-striker core for Orlando City in 2026. Yeah. I would hate to be just a DP on Duncan, you know. And then after that, I think we're fine. You know, we're gonna have Wilder, Otavio, Gusky, Atuesta, Gervais, Ojeda 1, Ojeda 2. We have Otavio on the right wing. We have Pasalic, Carvalho, Angulo. Left wing, Spicer, Thiago, Sukata. Right back, we should have a new guy. Freeman, Kyle's out, so we have new guy, Freeman, Taifi, Brecalo, Yearwood, Jansen, Ferguson, and then you'll have left back number 1, Adrian Marin, Tyree Brown. I think, to me, that's it. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think are your most critical needs?
It's DP to replace Luis Muriel as soon as possible. That's probably my first one. Yeah. Because we need, if we can add anybody who can bang in goals, this team gets better than last year in terms of goal scoring, right? Because we're bringing Ojeda back, of course, MVP caliber candidate last year. Let's hope he can repeat at the same numbers. I think he can. I don't want to be pessimistic, so please don't take it that way. But I'm just saying, like, we want to make sure he continues at that level. Pasalic, let's hope he gets off to another good start. He did kind of fall off at the end of last season, but I feel like with one full season of MLS underneath him now, he should feel more comfortable. And then I think between Spicer and Thiago, I think you're going to get more production. I mean, it's kind of hard to beat the 0 goals and, what was it, 5 assists or 6 assists that Ivan Angulo had in MLS play last year. So I imagine we'll get more production out of that spot. So that kind of elevates all of it. My next one that we have to address is center back. I'm sorry, Robin Janssen is on the wrong side of 30. He's coming off of a pretty gnarly injury-ridden season last season. We gotta hope to get him some cover and some help there. And then the other thing too is Brecalo didn't really play center back for us last year a ton, and so we need to get him accustomed to moving him back inside and what that looks like. So I would really love at least 1 or 2 more solid center backs to bring into the team. And then my sort of like wish list beyond that, if we had a couple extra spots that we could fill, bring in a left back. If Reed Brown is not ready, which he may not be, bring in a left back to compete with Marin. I think that's the best way to do it. Bring in a left back who can come in and compete with Marin and see which one comes out of it. Or if you want to spend the money to get one that's going to pass Marin, that's fine too. But really bring somebody in who can compete and play there and really give us an opportunity on that side. Because I'm pretty comfortable with everything else. And I think the front 3 outside of striker looks pretty good. Because again, we talked about this when Thiago got signed. Thiago can play any of those spots in the front 3. He can play left wing, he can play right wing. He can also play as a striker. One of the games that I broke down that I covered for him, he played as a striker and he did very well for Bahia when he played there. So I feel comfortable with that. I'd like a little bit more comfortable coverage for maybe Ojeda. I know people say Carvalho can play there as a 10, but the kid's 16 years old. I don't want to necessarily put that much pressure on him if Ojeda does happen to like knock on wood, miss time or anything like that. So maybe we find someone who can help us play those spots. But yeah, pretty solid in most of the spine. The center back part is the part that worries me. And then I think you might need another goalkeeper who's going to flirt back and forth with the number one team and OCB. Just because it's always nice to have sort of a third goalkeeper kind of kicking around. And since Rojas is so young and he's going to get most of the starts for OCB, you might want to have somebody else who's able to go back and forth between the two squads.
Yeah, let's read some comments. It says, "Oh, interesting." It says Frankie, which Miami under 22 was paid more than the men?
I got an answer. I got an answer for Frankie. So the best deal to give you an example of how the U22 can work is Austin just signed Owen Wolf to a new U22 deal. And according to the rules of the U22 deal, a player who is on their second contract, who was signed as either a homegrown or a super draft, so Freeman would qualify for this because he was signed as a homegrown, can earn up to $200,000 above the maximum salary budget charge in any given year, including their option years. And then one of the rumors is next year, the maximum salary budget charge is going to go up. There's rumors that could be anywhere from 800 to 850,000. People think it's going to be somewhere in that range. But also people think potentially, because teams are signing a lot more U22s and homegrowns to U22 deals, that there might be an increase in how much you can pay a U22 next year. But if we're strictly going off of the rules right now, Alex Freeman could be paid about $1 million to stick around and be on a U22 deal if he wanted to take the deal, which again, I don't think Luis and I are saying that he's inclined to or not inclined to. Right, it's just an offer that Orlando City can make to him. I think most likely he gets sold this winter and either we keep him as a loan before the World Cup or he gets sold and we see a couple $1 million maybe go into our pocket.
Yeah, I mean, and also, again, I hate talking about the other, Miami, but I mean, you guys bring it up. So, Tadeo Allende was one another thing that they did. I think his salary was $1 million. Obviously, it was. I think the cap is like 680,000 or something like that, and then some of this $1 million salary, because it stayed $1 million, had to be reduced. They reduced it using the TAM, and then by keeping his salary under 1 million, Inter Miami used TAM to buy down his cost against the cap. So they're doing that. What I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to talk about Miami. What I'm trying to say is that's their thing. What I'm trying to say is Orlando can sit down with that U22 spot and try to convince Alex to stay if that's what he decides to do. In the end, it's his decision.
Well, I'll say this, Luis. I'll give Miami credit for this. They loan players in and play that system very well. Like they understand how to play that system, and that's when Andrew Weeby's talking about being creative, right? I mean, look what they did with DePaul, right? They brought him in on a loan, and they got Atletico to cover most, if not all, of his salary. And then they basically backloaded it so that when they went to go purchase DePaul, it all just basically went back to Madrid, and Madrid made the money back that they were supposed to be making. So they know how to pull those levers. I give them credit for that. As much as I do not like, Inter Miami, they play that system very well. And that, again, that's a tool that Orlando can use, honestly.
Yeah, and Orlando could use it for, I mean, not all the time, but they could use it aggressively to I mean, if Miami's doing it, they have to allow Orlando to do it also. So I mean, I understand the different types of markets, but then the league's gonna have to own up for other teams not to start doing the same. And Skeeter Jeep says, well, I am the opposing team looking at this lineup. I know what side I'm bringing up the ball. We can go through a season with Angulo and Marin again. Well, Angulo is going to be on the right side, and from my understanding, per source is going to be the third option in the depth chart, to the point that they're looking into Sakata more to be behind Spicer. So Angulo knows this, kind of like it was told to Rodrigo to look for another team, to Pedro, thank you very much, but no. And they made tough decisions, like Muriel saying, hey, we're going to have to cut ties because you don't have a roster spot for 2026 here. So they've already established those. So they told Angulo, you have to fight it from the third stringer. Like you're gonna have to fight it out. So, and he decided to stay. He decided to battle it out, and yes, sir, I'm gonna do my best. So I agree with you. I think you have Pasalic, you have Angulo, which in a way you guys don't like, but it's been proven to work both flanks. And then you have Gustavo Carvalho, which I actually would like to see more of, if you ask me. I think we have a lot to gain. We could even sign him for a new deal to extend him so we can make some money if he decides to go to, he gets spotted in Europe or something like that. And, we get a big, we don't, we start believing in our homegrowns, in our home, on our youth, and putting them in contracts so the Freeman situation doesn't happen to us again. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
So I would like to see Caraballo more than I was excited when Nico left, because I was like, yo, I'm gonna see Caraballo more. And um
But
same with
Luis, what it goes down to is Poppy's got to rotate, and he just
Mhm.
doesn't. Last year, he just didn't show us that he was willing to rotate as much as he needed to. He really only rotated when he had to, injuries and other things like that. So, I mean, we loved the game that Caraballo had against the Rowdies last year. I mean, he played a heck of a game. I was there in person. It was an amazing
Yeah,
atmosphere and everything he did. But we that's what Poppy needs to do. We need to get these guys more
yeah,
involved in the other competitions that we're playing in. I know for Leagues Cup it's hard because Leagues Cup is only the top 4 in each side, the Liga MX side and then the MLS side make it. So if you want to make it to the next round, you got to be on your front foot the entire time. And so I get that, but like for Open Cup, let the young guys ride, man. Like take it
100%.
seriously. Let the young guys ride. Get them into games where you can get them into games. We know how late Poppy likes to sub, which also doesn't give
Yeah.
these guys a ton of time. So you got to work
Well,
those guys
he
in and make it
has.
work.
All I can tell you is and again, I speak with a lot of honesty. I still think Oscar is really well regarded in the MLS as a top 5, top 6 MLS coach.
Mhm.
Um, but there's a new sheriff in town. Musie's no longer here. Now the guy who's in charge of the team is Ricardo. Tough conversations we're taking at the end of the season this year. A lot of expectations were crushed for the fans. The front office knows that. And now it's up to Oscar. They're going to set up the team to be successful, to bring people that want to play here. They're taking out some of the elements that are kind of we're fading away with time, and they're bringing in new blood. It's up to Oscar to make it work. If it doesn't, I guarantee you a lot of things will change at that point. I mean, you have
Right.
coaches right now with no team like Wilfred Nancy. You have a lot of top coaches also being without clubs. Maresca is without a Maresca's without a club. He got freaking sacked. We'll see. Again, I think this is we need to see a different Orlando this season. I think fans were really disappointed last season, how things ended with the Open Cup and things like that. Yeah, so there's no ifs and buts, because again, and I bring it out again, 2027, we have the Orlando Jaguars. They are killing it in the NFL right now. They're going to come hot come 2027, and if Orlando doesn't put a good product, they're going to take a lot of the views are going to be going
Yeah.
to
Well,
the Jags.
also don't forget we get the silly season to start 2027 so
Yeah.
we can get on the proper calendar. So 2027 is going to be a chuck full year. What I'm really curious to see at the end of this coming season, and I know we haven't even started it yet, but still with the end of this upcoming season, I'm wondering how active some teams are because you have the silly season, just a couple of weeks away. So it's going to be really interesting to kind of see what that looks like, but this is the time for Ricardo to start building, right? Build the team he wants to build. And to me, it's not only for this season, it's to build for the season and like a
Yeah.
half, right? You
He's
need to
gonna
start
have.
building for like the season and a half. So I think that's why I think things might come a little slower. I think Ricardo obviously is doing the work he needs to do and getting these guys in and all that kind of stuff. But don't be alarmed if it just comes a little slower because again, he's going to want to find the right guy, right? He doesn't want to just bring in a random guy. We don't need another Marin if Marin doesn't pan out for us this season. We don't need another panic buy of Marin to bring him in, right? We don't need to bring in the wrong person just because we're up against the clock. We need to do this sort of the right way. So I am curious to see kind of what it looks like. And then to your point, the club has to decide, depending on how the season goes, is Oscar Pareja the guy you want in charge when you go into the season next year, right? You have to make that decision because, like you said, there's a lot of good coaches out there. I bet Tite will be free of his managerial duties wherever the heck he's at. So that rumor can come back around again.
I just like Wilfred Nancy when he said, "This is no." He said, "This is bullshit." No, it wasn't like that. He said it. This is shit. I don't know, but
yeah, it'll be interesting.
I just think that there's again, it's going to determine a lot of things. I mean, I think you're getting younger. I mean, that's a fact. I think Orlando City is getting younger. He's building for the future. Maybe Ricardo's getting a Belgian manager.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. That'd be interesting to have Oscar Pareja go through all this offseason and then say, "All right, see you later." And then,
or it'd be hilarious. You should do it, Ricardo. Just grow and take a picture eating a Belgian chocolate bar. That'd be hilarious. No, but
oh my gosh!
Again, it is. Fans were really disappointed last season. I mean, and Orlando in 2024, Orlando was on a high. They made the big time.
Yeah,
they had all those spotlight in front of them, and they missed that chance. They lost that chance, and then you got two massive signings like Pasalic. You had a renewal and extension from Ojeda. You had Facu leaving and all of that. A lot of, again, we got this talk again of like, oh, how special is going to be? Oh, I don't know him. Who is he? And then boom, he comes in, has that immediate impact. That's what the fans now are expecting for these signings that you're making. You know what I mean? Those young guys, I have a lot of good feelings about those young guys, like especially the center backs, like I mentioned. I'm excited to see that new OCB blood, new blood that we're getting from South America. I'm excited for hopefully Muriel by the end of the week be gone, and we could be talking about is Romelu Lukaku coming to make Luis's dreams come true. We'll see, but anyways, I want to thank you, David, for this amazing show today. I want to thank every single one of you, about 180 people watching.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
If you're listening, make sure that you support. Drop us a thumbs up. Drop us a comment. We're Loud and Proud Orlando. We want to also extend our. Hopefully, he's doing so well over there in the UK, drinking a lot of pints, listening to a lot of oi, right over there in the UK. To
Mr. John, looking forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah. So stay tuned for Loud and Proud Orlando. We're on X at LP_podcast, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, as well on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Make sure that if you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, click on the notification bell for all notifications. Make sure you drop us a comment. If you drop us a comment, we will reply to you on the next episode. So make sure that you stay tuned. If you're watching Ricardo, we want to have you at the show. We want to pick your brain. We want to make sure that we ask you. Maybe you drop us a LPO bomb instead of a Bulgur bomb this time. It'd be fantastic to have you over because I think it'd be great, especially almost hitting the end of the off season. It'd be cool to have you over. And again, thank you for your support. We're starting really big, a 2-hour show beginning of 2026. 170 people watching. That's tremendous. We're excited for what's coming this year. A lot of good stuff. And David joining. We're also looking for somebody that wants to cover Pride with me. Feel free to message us. You DM us on our X or YouTube or Facebook. You can DM us, and then we're going to talk. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff happening next season. We're going to be covering also more of the OCB guys. So if the club is watching, we want to cover the OCB side more this 2026. But again, thank you guys for your support. And again, vamos Orlando. Take care, guys.
Have a good one, guys.